Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Pedro Pinto, and I'm delighted to be able to welcome you to the second edition of the MIP Alumni Association online conference. Now, as I'm sure you know, the MIP Alumni Association is a group of former international footballers and professionals who have participated in the UEFA Master for International Players course and are now formed a group of alumni members and stay in touch, and also are part of a group of influential footballers and professionals throughout the industry. Now, from my side, I can say that it's a pleasure to be part of this event once more in an online format once more as well. I've had an opportunity to be part of the MIP course for UEFA over the last few years, since its inception actually. And I've really seen the added value that this gives to the possibilities of former international players to make a transition into other careers. Now, today you'll be able to hear from some of the best professionals in the football industry in the international sphere, and we'll be touching on very important subjects such as leadership in the game, women's football, mental health, social media, equality and diversity, and delve into the world of NFTs as well. So really look forward to that. It'll be a day full of information, full of insight, full of expertise from so many people who have excelled not only in their playing careers, but have now been able to make that transition into successful professionals in the football industry. So going from on the pitch to off the pitch. Now, I'd like to call on everyone watching this conference throughout today to interact with us on social media channels. You can use the hashtag MIPConference2 and then comment on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube as well. And we'll try to interact with you as well live throughout the day, throughout the different panels and discussions that we have for you here. Now, I think the best way to officially kick off this conference, obviously you don't want to hear from me for much longer. The best way to kick this off is actually to speak with a man who's managing the MIP Alumni Association. It's the president, Bruno Chéroux, the former French international player. He's also now a technical advisor at Olympique Lyonnais, responsible for all recruitment in men's and women's football. He's a busy man, so it is a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak with him on this Monday morning. Bruno, such a great opportunity to host this event again, so thank you again for inviting me. And really, I wanted to kick off by starting to ask you really how proud you are about the Alumni Association and the fact that you're hosting this second edition of a conference online today.
Thank you, Pedro, and good morning. Yeah, well, I mean, we are really excited to have this second conference, MIP Alumni, because we truly believe that we were some players, we were some referees, we were some experts in our sports, and we love football, so we wanted to give back to football at some point. And I think this is a way to do that kind of conference, to give back to football, to try to create an event where we can show our expertise, where we can spread out what we learned from our experience on the pitch. And now with UEFA, with CDS, and thanks to them, they created this kind of program that we are liking, I think, for ex-football and former players. And now this is on. And now we are able, with the tools they can provide us with this kind of course, to give back, to spread out the good message. And I think with this Alumni Association, we wanted also to perpetuate this kind of network, this kind of bench of players we were, through some values. And the values have been formalized by the first edition, the first promotion. And values are integrity, education, and expertise. And I think this is three key words that we want to keep always in mind to perpetuate this course and through this association.
Bruno, from my experience, and you know, I had the pleasure of being part of this since the first edition at UEFA. I've really been impressed by how seriously the former players and the former professionals take this course. They're educated on so many different areas of football, and today we have a lot of areas of discussion. Why did you pick these areas, from leadership to women's football to social media to equality and diversity and others? Why did you feel these were the right topics to address today?
I mean, we have to adapt, and we have to adapt to the situation. So first of all, we would like to have this conference live with a lot of people on site in the same rooms. Unfortunately, we can't due to what's happened with COVID and all that kind of situation, and also because or due to the technological, we are able to do it online. And I think this is, first of all, one of the key we must have also when we try to come from on the pitch to off the pitch. It's to adapt to the situation. And after, of course, we have to choose some topics who can be the actuality. And I think we have a lot of society issues or concerns or new stuff coming around, like NFTs, like crypto money or stuff like that. And this is something, for my part, I'm not an expert. I'm not really aware of everything on it. And I would like to have that kind of expertise from people who knows, from people who are in charge of that kind of topics. And I think this is really interesting for all of us, and to try to have the right topic, which is not always about sport, but about football activities, football business. And I hope it will be good topics for everybody, and it will be enjoyable and really interesting.
Tell us how well the Alumni Association has been doing over the last few years. What are some of your major achievements, you think, and also about the importance of partnerships with UEFA and FIFA Pro as well throughout the existence of this program?
I mean, as former players, we want to be part of the global stakeholders, and you talked about UEFA. There is FIFA Pro also. There is a new UEFA Alumni Global Association. There are a lot of different stakeholders. So we want to be part of it. We don't want to be linked, especially with some specificity. And my first words was to, as an alumni association, try to give back to football. And I mean football in a general words, not only to the players, not only to the clubs, not only to the federation or institutions. We want to give back to football, because now with our jobs, we have different activities. Some of us are in the management, some of us are coaches, some of us are agents or TV pundits, and we can't have only one way to see the global activities and football. We must have a global overview. And I think this is really interesting to have that kind of partnership with different entities. But also, and in the same time, this is a topic really creating debates internally in the association, is we try to avoid politics, which is quite difficult. But we really want to give back to football as former players, but with a global overview and global perspective of the business, actually, which is changing a lot, as you know. So yeah, we try to be like to try to be as objective as possible about the different topics.
Bruno, really appreciate the insight that you shared. Congratulations for not only completing the course initially, but then setting up the MIP Alumni Association as well. We're really looking forward to hearing from members of the association today, some special guests on a lot of those topics that you touched on. So I'll let you get on with your busy day. I'm sure you'll be following the conference as well in the background as you do your work here at the Olympique Lyonnais throughout the day. But thanks a lot once more. Good luck with everything, and I hope to see you again soon.
thank you also to you, Pedro, because you're a great host, and we really appreciate your support. And even if you didn't sleep a lot, I'm sure you'll be up for it.
Bruno, thanks a lot. It was a pleasure to speak with you this morning. Thanks also for your kind words. And we're moving on. That's how it's going to be throughout the day in this MIP Alumni Association conference. We're going to be speeding through a variety of interviews, discussions with industry experts. Before we start with our keynote panel, we also wanted to bring in representatives of two key stakeholders who allowed this course to happen. It's my pleasure to be able to welcome in Joël Pinson from UEFA and also Christophe Lepetit from CDES. And I think it's safe to say that when this course started, it was really a trailblazing initiative, innovative a project. And I'll start with you, Joël. First of all, good morning to both of you. I'll start with you, Joël. Tell us why you thought initially it was important for UEFA to get involved in this landscape of education and educating former international players as well.
Yeah, morning, Pedro. Thanks a lot. I think there was a strong will at UEFA from the beginning to make sure that the skills of former players don't go to waste. Also making sure that former players remain in the game, not only on the technical side, which of course is very important, but that we also have former players in leadership position, in manager roles, whether it's in clubs, football federation, or governing bodies. But there was an understanding that these players needed maybe like something to train, to be ready to really perform off the pitch as they were performing on the pitch. So there was the idea about this training program and making sure that we give them the good skills, that they also understand what kind of skills they can transfer from the pitch, off the pitch. And from the beginning, I think there was also a will to not only have a kind of a workshop organized by UEFA, but a real academic program. So there, it's also the reason why we have a strong collaboration with the University of Limoges in France, but also Birkbeck College at the University of London, to not only offer a kind of simple training, but really an academic training where the participants by the end of the course will have an academic certification, which for a lot of them was they were not able to do it while playing due to the active career, of course.
Thanks for that, Joël. I wanted to go to Christophe because I mentioned it when I was speaking with Bruno, but it was so strange in the beginning, interesting then, and impressive finally, seeing so many of these players having the humility to get back into the classroom and learn, right? So obviously we also were bringing in the football expertise, but they needed a partner who bringing together the representing the people responsible mostly for the education and the curriculum throughout these years. How would you describe the experience of having these former players in the classroom and how they've responded to the
Yes, good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure for us to be part of this conference. To answer to your question, Pedro, I think that it's both an amazing honor, but also a great responsibility for us to manage this program with our partners. It's an honor because the former players have all been really important and really strong former football players. And so we have to be at their level, in fact, on the academic side. But it's also a strong responsibility because we have, their confidence. They give us their trust to accompany them in their transition. So we really need to assume it and to be at their level to teach them. So it's really, really important for us to deliver strong content for them and to be able to accompany them, to give them tools in order to reach this kind of huge position in the football industry.
Joël, I wanted to get your opinion on how well you think the course has gone in the last editions. Obviously, you had a huge challenge with COVID and had to change the program from pretty much 1 week to the other. So I can imagine that was not easy to do. But tell us what some of the major achievements are, and also touch on the MIP Alumni Association and how impressed you were that was created.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think COVID, I mean, we were all impacted, and with like a 2-year master program that is only, or was only, face to face until then, of course, there was some major impact, but nevertheless, I think we managed to go through. We are now running the 4th edition of the program. The 3rd edition, so the edition that was really impacted by the program, is now finishing. Actually, we just had a week in Miami with them to study the North American of sport. So I think it was really impressive for me also the way like all the participants like get together, speak from one voice, and really like wanted to finish the programs no matter what. So we went through. We are now like over 100 participants of the MIP, and I think for us it was also important that it's not only like an education programs that last for 2 years, but that there is a legacy behind. And I think it's what is really impressive with the alumni. It's that they managed to get together, and I mean, for sure, there will be a driving force in football in the near future. And for me, maybe one of the very impressive part of the alumni is that yes, they could have just waited for the pandemic to kind of finish, or at least that we were able to have face-to-face sessions again, but they did this conference online last year. They do it again this year, and you really see that also from the topic and so on, the diversity of like what the people are doing now and the different kind of interests. So I think it's really the dynamic behind the program and behind the alumni that for me are like something I'm really, really proud of.
One final question to both, because I really, as insiders that you are on this course, I really want to get your perspective on how surprised you have been or not about how quickly many of the members of the course have gone on to make that transition and have gone on to take up leadership roles in important organizations and clubs and federations and stakeholders, etc. So I'll start with Christophe and then finish with Joel and get your opinions on that.
Yes, that's a very interesting question, Pedro, because the aim of the professional football players when they are coming into the MIP is to reach such positions. So first of all, I would say that we are very proud when we welcome the participants as I would say in the course, because it's already a big step for them to be able to be off the pitch and to jump in such a program. And then I would say that we are very happy when they reach such position, because that's a thing, that's a sign that it is a very good program for them. And we are very happy because also we think that these professionals have strong soft skills that they acquired during their sporting careers, and that the tools that we are delivering to them during the course are very helpful. And so we are happy, but we are not too much surprised, as we know that they have the skills to occupy such positions. And for us, it's just the MIP is just a pathway from their sporting career to their professional career, and we are happy to see many of them reaching a very interesting position in the football industry.
What about you, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, not much more to say. I think it's, for us, of course, it's important. Like behind the program, one of the goals is, of course, to make sure that people have a transition, but most importantly, a successful transition. And to have so many examples already from the first 2, even 3 cohort is really positive. Of course, I'm clearly aware that the MIP is only like, or the UEFA MIP, the program itself is only one small step on one small contribution to the success of the transition, but I strongly believe that it is an important one. But on top of that, the alumni and so on, like the network they create around is really important. And to see that now we have people with like key position already in football, not only in Europe, but across the world, is really important and will only grow in the future. So we are really positive. And when we are launching new editions, for the new participants to be inspired by what the former graduates like have achieved is also something that we always try to bring in.
Joel, Christophe, thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your
you.
insights on the MIP course, obviously created in partnership with UEFA and the CDES. Great leadership also from both of your respective organizations to set this up and to follow it through as well, as we've seen the different editions and so many talented football professionals getting an opportunity to get the tools they need to make that transition into another career in football. Thanks a lot to both of you. We started off this conference by speaking with the president of the MIP Alumni Association, Bruno Cheru. Then we got some context on the whole Master for International Players and the organizations who created it in partnership, UEFA and CDES. We're now going to move on to a little bit more of I would say, a micro view on what it's been like to be on this course and what are the added value elements that it brings to the participants and how they've taken those tools and moved on to the next level. So it's my pleasure to introduce the participants of the keynote panel on this Monday morning in this conference. And I'd like to welcome Lisa Klaveness, who is the president of the Norwegian Football Federation, obviously also an international for her country with over 70 caps. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning.
Really looking forward to hearing your opinions and your insights on that transition. Also like to invite Maxwell from UEFA. He's the Chief of Football Development there. Maxwell, tudo bem?
Tudo bem. Bom dia. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Maxwell. Obviously, he was also an international for his country, Brazil, and won a multitude of titles playing in Europe. Last but definitely not least this morning, I'd like to invite Kaspars Gorks as well, who was the former president of the Latvian Football Federation, also now a member at the Latvian Sports Federations Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I had an opportunity to see most of you in the classroom. You've made important and impressive strides since then. I'd like to start really by getting into it straight away and starting with Lisa, but I'd like all your opinions on this. Is what's the most important advice that you would give to professional players who are now getting to the end of their careers or finishing their careers on what they can do to make that transition from an athlete to a leader, from an athlete to a football professional? What would you say to him or her?
Thank you for being here. It's so nice. I really enjoy the MIP program myself, so it's been so useful, and I feel so happy every time I go home. It sounds very like escalated when I say it like that, but I really do. So I think the one part of advice would be to stay curious, and at the end of the career, when you know you're getting to the end, to stay curious, so that then you start to see all these lines, all these interesting parts of the industry, not just coaching, because I think many players think that they should go be a manager or nothing, but it's so many interesting, giving, inspiring positions there. Of course, very difficult. So that's the one piece of advice, to start the transition in the mind, not to disturb the career or training, but just to stay curious, ask the CEO, just stay curious and ask questions. But the other part of advice would be to also be patient and stay strong in your faith that your playing career will help you if you give yourself some time to build your capacity to be in administration, because it is very different going from training from 10 to 12 every day and rest and travel and go into like this wheel of work. But you will get there if you want to. But you will be a bit depressed. You will have a down, and have mentors, wise people around you that will lead you through and be patient in that period. It takes a year, have 1.5 years maybe, and then I think the playing career, then it will capitalize. So patience and curiosity.
What about you, Kaspars and Maxwell? What advice would you give to football professionals who are thinking about making that transition and I think sometimes it would be fair to say that many athletes don't think about it until it's too late.
My instinctive answer would be just call me. I think I've seen the whole range, what you can expect from this transition, going from player to into administrative role. But I think in general, most of the players have prepared for all kind of career for the future, and they have such unique attributes as quick decision making and getting over failures and changing the course of games. So they have the right package, and what I would suggest is to look from the other side, what traits you don't have, because I think football players in general are quite quite confident. So at times they forget to remember that there are certain things that you have to know, you have to prepare for. I think Lisa mentioned the most important points, especially be patient, which is always hard to do for us football players, but it's a smaller scale how to prepare for the game. You need to choose your goal, what you want to achieve. Okay, you can change it in a way in the course of the road, but it's easier when you have that goal. Then you need to find the time to learn, to study. There are so many ways how to do it, and from my own experience I can say that for example MIP gave me a great deal of confidence to take on the hardest challenges in my life. I would say less reading books about or leaving it to spare time books about how to become a leader and some autobiographies and get to more practical stuff about finances, about how governance. These are the things that will definitely be useful. And the third thing I would suggest is to ask questions, find mentors who will lead you into your administrative career. Nothing will be as much fun as to play football on the pitch, but for me it was to shorten the space of time you finish your career and get into a new role and learn new things. Thank you.
Do you want to add anything, Maxwell?
There is no much to add, actually, Pedro, but I think it's all said. And the most important thing that we can do, in my opinion, is to commit our time really to learn. Because we did commit ourselves also to be a football player. We had to sacrifice as a young age for many things. And to go into this new world, we have a lot of skills, but we need to give the time to learn. And of course, all the other things and advices, the curiosity, using the mentors. We never achieve somewhere alone. I think we football, we have a huge network and people really willing to help. And we need to use all this support and help. I mean, everything was said. I just, my advice was only to add a little bit, give all your time to learn, commit yourself really to go through this process. And MIP is great on this. You have good people, you have a lot of content. So this is my advice.
I'll start with you, Maxwell, for the next question. And that is, from a leadership perspective and a skill perspective, obviously all of you developed a lot of aspects of your personality and of the way you worked as a professional player. What did you take from those experiences as a player into an administrative role or into a corporate role that helped you adapt? And how did you make sure that your experience on the field wasn't wasted off the field, Maxwell?
You don't realize until you start using it. But really, what I think, if we talk about some skills that really is helping us to a leadership role or to administrative role, I think is good communication. We are all the time under pressure, and we know how to make decisions under pressure. And I think this is also about preparation. So really to go into the content or the work that you have done, that you have to do it, but also knowing that under pressure you have skills that makes you lucid, I think, clear to make good decisions. I think to adapt in different situations, this is something that I used a lot. I use a lot in my daily work, adapting to different stakeholders, different needs, different demands. I think leading by example. I think to be sure that you commit yourself and you develop things protecting the game, leading by example. So these are the skills that I use most of the time in my daily work.
Lisa, talk to us about some of the challenges you did face in making the transition, as far as the opinion that many people in the corporate world could have of players. And traditionally, obviously, they excelled on the pitch, they excelled from an athletic standpoint, but when you get into a position to compete with corporate professionals for jobs, and you're a good case study, obviously, for that, having gone all the way up to president of the Norwegian Football Federation. What were some of those challenges that you faced in changing people's perspective about players, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I would say it was more so to overcome challenges within myself, because and also because we spend our time training. I'm a lawyer, so I studied law, but I came, to the exams, and the other time around I was playing and training, so I studied in a different way than the rest of the groups. I didn't really know people at the university. I had all kind of exceptions to make this go around. So when I was done lawyer, I was a lawyer, but I hadn't ever put my feet into any lawyer's office. So when I started to work as a lawyer, I was employed somewhere. I had to sort of excel and compensate for the fact that all the other trainees and new lawyers had been trainees for many years and knew the sort of sense of being in office and administration. So I spent a year feeling a bit, not good enough, and even though I knew I had the grades and the education, so for me it was more to, and that was not a work within football, but I did eventually feel that the football background was very important for me later. So in the start, I had to sort of translate my playing background into useful, to be useful. But after 1 year, 1.5, I felt that it was one of my big strengths, to get back into the game when you have played bad the start. I had all kinds of metaphors from my career that I used when going to trials. Later, when I became the technical director in the Norwegian Federation, the first woman, and I felt, a bit small going to the Ullevål Stadium, knowing that I should be the boss of the national team coach, the male and both men and women, and then try to build up my experience. So to me, it was more to build up the confidence within myself, and of course you also have to prove to the people around you that you can use the playing career effectively. So for me, it was more to be conscious, to actually translate, not just say it's useful, but to sit down and reflect, how is it useful and why is it useful? And for me, the most useful part was the vulnerability part of it, that I know that I can play a bad game and go back, and I used it more so to build up emotional competence than anything else, I think.
Kaspers, when you made that transition, I think something that's quite common for all of you is, how do you replace the adrenaline that you have from your playing careers, and how do you immediately get satisfaction from the influence that you can have in your next career? So what advice do you have for all those following the conference of how you made that adaptation, and how you replaced the intense feeling and adrenaline that you had on the pitch?
My playing style was always or my main attributes were hard work, dedication. And never face away from a challenge. So these are the attributes I took with me into my football afterlife, or active football afterlife with me, so I could build on them. And setting challenges similarly to a professional sports, just on a smaller scale, it helps you to go from one small goal to other small goal, and to feel excited about all our other things you have. Actually, the most addictive thing for me was to realize how many things I don't know. So just to find that right balance, if you to say, with stuff I know and all the stuff I don't know, and from there it's just get those ingredients what you have. If you compare it, I don't know, with the wrong balance, you can waste a good gin and tonic as well. But you have your basis, which is your values, the way you think, your presence, which is something, in my metaphor, it would be the gin, and then you have this extra factor that your professional playing career gives you or leaves you with. So these are the things that gives you that advantage, or gin and tonic, it would be a lemon, which gives you a taste, or whatever you take your gin and tonic. So there, and then it's how much tonic you want. You can pour it as much as you want. You can learn as much as you want and feel excited. And adrenaline is not the same as on a football pitch, but very similar.
I hope you weren't inspired by the gin and tonic because you're drinking one right now, Kaspers. I mean, I'm not one to judge. It's interesting.
Listen, the challenge is to find out if all of us are wearing pants, but gin and tonic would not be a challenge.
It's a good analogy. Obviously, all of you have taken on administrative roles with a lot of influence. A question to all of you. Lisa, I'll start with you as well. Is what are ways in which football leadership can improve from your experience? Things that you've seen and you're determined to say to yourself, that needs to change. I got to make that better. What are some of those aspects in football leadership and decision making that you would improve?
Yeah, it's a big question, and it's also a matter of being humble into those questions. But I would say, to start with, that the political leadership should and the elected leadership should be even braver. I think we're in a very important time. Revenues and everything has grown the last decade a lot, and we're of course, everyone's trying to stay out of politics, but with the money we handle, we're into politics. So I do think it's very important to have brave, objective leadership where it's not just about personal positions, but it's about the value and attitude where we're going, so that we can have sustainable football values govern the decisions we make in every sense, I think. And I also think, if I could change something important in Norway, and I do think it's somewhere else also, is to have more systematically the sport in the center of every decisions, so that the board also have very much knowledge about the game, and this is where the players come in also. I do think it's valuable. We're not going to sit and have configurations 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 in the boardroom, but we do need to start every decision with the game, knowledge of the game and the values of the game. So that is a second thing. And I would say a third thing is to have even more professional attitude toward risk management. I do think we govern football internationally and also in Norway with too much of a risk, and we are so sort of reactive more than proactive, and coming from other businesses, I do think we have something to learn from banking systems or different other enterprises where we can be more effective with risk management, and in that sense not be so dependent about what the media says, where we can be proactive. And I could go on, but I think those three things are the ones I'm most interested in in trying to change or seeing change in the next years.
Thank you, Lisa. What about you, Kaspers? What would you improve if you could?
I think Lisa gave a great insight of some of the stuff. I would just add that the political leadership, rightly so, especially in European Union level, has to be very strict and active regarding sports. We have declining physical activity numbers in Europe. We have all mental issues rising with especially with youth, and I think we need as well a clear regulation on European level how to govern some of the parts of football, like I don't know, the labor law questions and so on. So this is one big block that where football leadership could be more active and decisive. The second one is actually, I was thinking about it, and I think that we could introduce a closed league model in some of the smaller football countries. I come from Latvia, where it's every year we have teams dropping out of first division because the risk management isn't there. So to build more stable organizations that can build relationship with public sector, which is the main financial add in here in Latvia. I think the closed league model in small country like Latvia would help build stronger organizations, followings, and as well save the integrity. And in general, I think today's problems, they reflect on football as well. So football has to be active. It will have to be more value-based in the future as well, and the brands will be judged on those values what you represent. So these will be, I think, important things in the future. Thank you.
Maxwell, we'll finish this section with you. Judging by the experience you've had, what can be done to improve football, and obviously taking into account your role at UEFA and football development, what are you focusing on the most?
Well, I think we speak a lot about the leaders, and the focus sometimes is a lot on the senior game. But we need, football is in a critical moment, in my opinion, in a very important moment, and we need to make sure. It's one of the reasons I joined also this role. It was to work on the grassroots, Pedro, and I think we need to focus. Something that we have to is to look for the future of the sport, and to invest that every children, boys and girls, they play in a safe environment is a key for me. We need to make sure that this young generation, they grow in the sport with love about the game they play, and that they play in a safe environment. I think this is something that we need to look for the future of the football, and this starts from the base, not only from the senior football decisions. And I hope really that the leaders, they have a look very deep on the young generation. The future of football becomes something that we need to work on schools, or we need to work in every level of grassroots. And I think this is what I would expect from I would love to see from the top management in football.
Maxwell, Lisa, and Kaspers, I think it's fair to say that this discussion could go on for a while, but we have to wrap there. I'd like to thank all of you for sharing the valuable experience you've had, and also giving important advice to those who are or have been shining on the pitch, and what they can do to shine off it as well. You're all leading examples of that. So congratulations for making that transition and doing it successfully. And good luck with the rest of your endeavors as well. Thank you for taking time this morning.
Thank you. It was very nice
Thank
to
you.
see you all. Thanks.
Thank you and good luck.
Thanks, everyone. So we're reaching the end of our first morning session. We had an opportunity to speak with Bruno Cheru right off the top, the president of the MIP Alumni Association. Then we talked with the representatives from the partners who set up the UEFA MIP course, Joel Pinson from UEFA and also Christophe Le Petit from CDES. And finally, as you've just heard, we had an opportunity to get some real insight and honest insight, I think, as well, from participants in the course who have gone on to successfully make that transition into another career in administrative roles. From my side, I'd also like to thank the opportunity to be part of this event. I had an opportunity to be there at the beginning of this program when I was at UEFA, and I've really seen it blossom into a really trailblazing program that I'm sure will continue to help many former professionals make that transition into other careers. One final piece of information that I'll share with you, to those watching right now on LinkedIn, you can continue to watch this conference on the MIP YouTube channel and on the MIP Twitter account as well. Continue to enjoy the day, the discussions, the insight that will be shared. The next session will begin shortly, and it's definitely one that you'll want to be a part of as we continue to discuss some of those key issues in international football. And the next session will focus on the new format of the UEFA Women's Champions League. So you can watch that, follow it right here as we continue to delve into some of these really important topics in the world of football. So continue to enjoy your day. It's been a pleasure for me to be a part of it, and see you all soon.